Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the weekly HO newsletter recaps for March 3rd, 2025. If you're new to the channel or to the series, this is where we take a look at a variety of manufacturers and talk about new product announcements, any delivery updates, or just general updates in the industry. Really excited to bring another episode your way. If you are new or if you find yourself coming back anyways, consider subscribing. It's completely free and really just helps to grow the channel and the series, so I really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, and drop me a comment if there's anything I may have missed or if you're excited about any of these announcements or updates. But let's go ahead and get started this week with Athearn. As you can see already at the very top of their newsletter in the Genesis line, they have two new announcements of locomotives, the SD60Ms and GP38-2s. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these because there's some neat paint schemes going on. First up, we'll take a look at the SD60Ms in the Genesis line, also called the Triclops. This is not a new model for Athearn, but features some new road names that haven't been done before. First up, we got the Wisconsin and Southern. You'll see there's two road numbers with two different lettering examples. Next up are some Sioux Line units. Two options there. Next, Norfolk Southern. These are units that were purchased from BNSF. A little note, although they are Norfolk Southern units, the ditch lights do not flash, as since they were built by BNSF, they didn't have that feature and they weren't switched over. We have an Omnitrax that is currently a leaser unit for the Illinois Railway, which is a little short line. And then we have a couple legendary liveries, their fantasy line. First up, the Gatex leasers. I want some of their GP units with this Smurf paint scheme, but no one has recently released one that I'm looking for. But if you're looking to pick up some fantasy units here with these Triclopses. Next up, two Grand Trunk Western road numbers. These definitely remind me of the actual Grand Trunk Western Heritage unit. And next, Kansas City Southern. Another what if, maybe these were bought from Union Pacific. They're Union Pacific styles just with the KCS lettering on them. And finally, here are a list of the features on this set of locomotives. You'll notice this is, as they call the Genesis 2.0 line with lit number boards and class lights, and they have beacons as appropriate, as we saw on the artwork. That's all here for the Triclopses. Let's move on to the GP38-2s. And the very first GP38-2 unit is the brand new CPKC livery, which has only been painted on one GP38-2 so far. Of course, Rapido is offering the first GP40 that's in the new CPKC paint scheme. So this is accurate for what it currently looks like today. Next up, a Genesee and Wyoming, lettered for the Ohio Central. This is Genesee and Wyoming's new anniversary paint scheme, as it calls out. We have two Kodachrome versions, the SPSF failed merger scheme. And a singular yellow bonnet in this release. A couple of short lines next that were customer requested. This is the Buckingham Branch Railroad. These were actually converted to low hood units because they used to be high hoods from the Southern and Norfolk Southern heritage. And we have a couple in the L&N in the Family Lines system livery. These also feature a gyrolight, as they call out. There's a look at some of the road number specific features. And a pair of Penn Central units as well. And finally, the list of features. You'll notice they call out the new features as this is now upgraded again to the Genesis 2.0 line with operating class lights and number boards. That's all here for this announcement. Let's get back to Athearn's newsletter. And as it calls out at the very top here, the pre-orders for both of these models are due on March 28th of 2025 with an estimated delivery date of October 2026, which is quite a ways out, so I do hope these do deliver before then, especially the CPKC units, because I'm sure that even more manufacturers will be jumping on that train and adding to that new livery. Moving on, we'll take a look at this next product announcement. This is a brand new product line for Athearn, the deformed 2494 RailGon gondolas. And here we have it. This is the Athearn new CarKnocker line, which are factory distressed or worn models. You'll see a lot of these are deformed. They're sort of sagging in the middle as if they've been well used in industry. There's a bunch of RailGon gondolas here in different variations. All of these are prime for grime on this page, except for that CSX at the bottom. So lots of different variations. Very, very easy to pick up a bunch of these and mix and match them all together. You'll notice some of them are offered in 3-packs or just single cars. But I'm sure this is going to be extremely popular because a lot of people are into weathered cars but not necessarily want to do them themselves or just don't have the capability. I haven't quite gotten into it myself. So these could be some really good options for some modelers out there. You'll see the prices there. The Prime for Grime versions are a little bit more expensive. And we have 2 data-only models as well. One of them faded in the Prime for Grime and one as just the standard gloss black. And here is a list of the features in this line, a little bit about the prototypes themselves and some of the features, mostly calling out deformed body. The body panels themselves are bent out of shape a little bit, so I expect these to be really, really cool. I know they were teased a little bit at Springfield, I heard, but there wasn't any final samples yet, so it was just announced this week, so that's really cool. So I hope that this line brings some pretty good success, and I really think it will, so definitely check these out if you're interested in those. Back to the newsletter. Next up is an airplane, which you might be wondering why they're announcing this airplane. It's because they're also offering a 50-foot flat car with the same airplane there as well. Disassembled for transportation, you can rebuild it into the static model above. That's pretty cool. Other models that are just in the standard Athearn line that we'll skip for now and come back later as they pop up: the 20,900 gallon acid tank car and this 50-foot plug door boxcar. We have the same boxcar also offered in N scale as well. And finally, in both HO and N scale, the Berwick bathtub gondolas. That's all here from Athearn for this week. We'll move on now over to ScaleTrains. All right, moving on into ScaleTrains' newsletter. Once again, starting off with the N-Scale GP30s. We've talked about them quite a bit, so I'll just scroll through the history here. This is talking a little bit about the CSX versions as well as their slug conversions, which is pretty cool. I like reading about history like this. But as for the models, we've seen them for the past few weeks featured right off the bat, so I'll move a little bit quickly through them. And again, in N-Scale, I know not all of my viewers are N-Scale enthusiasts, but if you are, take a look at these. Next up, models that I was excited for that I actually picked up. The new run of CN Heritage ET44s. Only 3 of them are currently in stock: the Illinois Central, Wisconsin Central, and BC Rail. The EJ&E version has sold out. I picked up the BC Rail from a previous release and the other 3 from this run. What's missing from these product shots are the addition of the new rust-colored wheels on the units. So my BC Rail does not, but the other ones in this run do, and they look fantastic. I just saw the Wisconsin Central unit in real life the other day, so that was a cool little thing. Here's a list of the CN features. Really like the snow walkways that they have. They're great instead of just a flat walkway along the long hood, as well as the front and rear DPU marker lights. That's a pretty cool CN feature, but those are selling fairly quickly. And a little bit of other low stock in HO scale. They're BNSF H1 Tier 4 GEVOs. I picked up one of those myself, number 3712. Really happy with it. I think it looks amazing. As well as N scale, they have a couple more of these in stock. Both of these are hypotypical releases, so paint schemes that never made it onto these locomotives in real life. Here's a look at the features and the road names still in stock. So you'll see that BNSF H1 is the only one still available. and some list of the N-scale features, still a couple different versions still available. And next up, new CSX Heritage units are now in stock. You'll see the paint schemes in this render of the ACL, the Monon, and the LNN, the next three in the set. Here's a list of some information on the models. And of course, the first 5 already arrived, with 2 more coming early this summer. In addition to this run of ES44s, the first 2 CPKC units are now in stock as well. Still sold out through ScaleTrains. Through the 14th is the end of the pre-order reservation window. I think I'm looking to pick up one of them, so don't buy it from me if you're going to. No worries though. Here is, they're calling out that pre-order deadline for this most recent run of ES44, so the CSX units and the CPKC units, and how to pay for that pre-order. And finally, a delivery schedule for some upcoming models. Still waiting on my SD40T-2s. They should be billing this week, so I got those through Lombard Hobby, so I'll see those a week or 2 afterwards. A couple of pieces of rolling stock also billing this week, and some more arrivals in N-scale next week. Those first run of the Trinity Reefers that I got both in HO scale. You can check out my thoughts on those. And models that still very excited for. I know many people are waiting for the Class J locomotives, the N&W famous number 611 and that entire class, as well as the Powhatan Arrow passenger cars. So really cool to see those making their way. That's all we have from ScaleTrains. No upcoming pre-order deadlines, just a lot of models on their way. We'll move on now over to Broadway Limited. All right, next up we have the Broadway Flyer for February 2025. Lots of neat things in this edition. First up, some featured videos. Things that are coming, a little recap of their Springfield show. Jimmy from DIY and Digital did a neat review on some of those new F units. James as well featured below. And a recap of their most recent product announcements. They're doing this run of the F units. Here are the Norfolk Southern Executive F units, really sweet. As it says there, they're looking into potentially making the entire executive car fleet, or at least some of it, if these sell well, which I'm sure they will. They're also doing the Chicago Northwestern Executive F7s to go along with the Chicago Northwestern version of the Fox River inspection car. These models look fabulous. Next up, the Rio Grande. You got the ski train there, of course. And their second new product announcement was another run of the 280 consolidations. Both of these announcements have order deadlines of March 13th. Looking like late summer delivery around September or so for both. Here's the full list of order deadlines coming up. You notice both the F3s and F7s there split up. So on the website, they're in 2 different spots. So make sure you pick the right one, as well as the power car, both sound and non-sound. I've got the non-sound with antennas, hopefully coming my way, as well as the Fox River Theater car. Got the Union Pacific with antennas. So I'm very excited for those. Those order deadlines are April 24th on those models, as well as the Yellow Jacket, which was announced also at Springfield. Next up, some sample shots. These are all of the early version of the UP Bull Moose. You'll see the die cast on the bottom and the brass on top, so brass hybrid model, of course. Looks really good. I do not have one of these on order, but the details on this look really nice. So I'm sure if you do, you'll definitely appreciate this. I can appreciate a really good model, just don't have quite enough room in my budget to be buying every model. At least at this time, maybe one day. Very fine details on this. Love some brass details. There's a nice front quarter panel shot. And next up, the delivery schedule. Note here that the PRR passenger cars have been delayed, so obviously they didn't arrive in January, so definitely keep an eye on those for when their new delivery date is estimated. First up, right on top, the Kennefic business car, number 119, hoping to get that very soon. You'll see all of the PRR passenger cars have been delayed until approximately May 2025, so that's quite a delay. But here's a list of all the other models they have in the works. There's that big boy, the 2025 run of it, which was only produced for pre-order numbers. There's no extras, which was the first time I've heard a manufacturer doing that. A couple Conductors Club locomotives as well. And there's the Power Car and the Fox River Theater cars in winter 2025, as well as their recent announcement of the A1A Berkshires. And finally, BLI likes to include a customer Q&A at the bottom. So we'll read through these real quick, stopping at ones that I'm especially interested. First up, that AC6000. I definitely want some of those. I really want a UP version or two eventually, but I don't really want the Paragon 3 versions. I'd rather have a more modern version, so I'm still holding on. Currently doesn't look like they're looking to produce AC6000s anytime soon. Some models or questions about the G3 Pacifics or T1s. Doesn't look like they're going to produce a new run of T1s in a while, just because of new tooling needed. No estimated release date for cab forwards or FEFs. And stealth models still selling well, just not as much as they expected. Talking about synchronized smoke, a little difficult in N scale. And they're also looking for Burlington E5s. That's fantastic. I'll definitely pick up the Silver Pilot 9911A from the IRM. A little bit about talking about receiving feedback from the community, especially on the AC9s with Sunset models and corrections that they made, how BLI goes about it. And doesn't look like they're going to make an unstreamlined J-Class. And talking about adding sound to cars, only where it makes sense, which I totally get where they're coming from. Currently developing the William Barstow Strong inspection car for BNSF, but nothing else at this time. They're also working on the Freedom trains, pretty neat. Still in design on Frisco 482s. Not looking for passenger cars quite yet. They'll sell the locomotives first. And other models that they're interested in, other different steam locomotives here. If you're interested in them, definitely submit them through their product suggestion portal. That seems to be the best way to get BLI to add that to their list. But that is all we have here from BLI. We'll move on now over to Bachmann quickly. All right, next up is Bachmann with a quick update of some new offset cupola cabooses now in stock. A little bit of history on them. There's the Burlington Route caboose, CB&Q, from the IRM actually. That's one I've been on, pretty neat. Here are the paint schemes now in stock. Just go through quickly. Really like this Great Northern version. And some other ones that have been in stock for a little bit longer. Again, not necessarily the most detailed or with extra lighting features and such, just a pretty good caboose to add if you're looking for a specific road name that no one else has made quite yet. Here's some features on them. And a little model update to close us off with Bachmann. Here is a casting of a narrow gauge model, pretty cool. This is the Sir Hayden in on 30. We'll move on now over to Atlas for some delivery updates. All right, next up, quick updates on some Atlas items delivering soon. They should have arrived on February 24th, so they should be making their way to your dealers soon. A couple models in N scale JP38s and -8s. And in HO scale, the GP40-2Ws. Lots of different paint schemes in that release, as well as RS11s. They also have a Trainman, RS32 and 36. We took a look at all of these in their most recent catalog, so I won't spend another couple minutes going through these. A couple pieces of rolling stock as well. But if you have these on order, just a heads up that they are on their way. And finally, just to touch on it since it's here, a couple in O scale. You got the P42 Genesis and C44-9W. As well as a pretty neat emergency gondola. That's all here from Atlas. We'll move on now over to Walthers. And our last newsletter for this week, the Walthers e-update. First up, talking about the Amtrak Viewliner Sleepers. These are offered both lighted or unlighted. The lighted versions are $15 more. They're currently open for pre-order. They're estimated around fall 2025, no exact month quite yet, but these look really cool. We took a look at them in their announcement about 2 weeks ago. Next up in the Walthers mainline series, new F7s. Again, a little bit lacking in detail, but still good variety of road names. I do have a pair of Proto F7s I'm planning a review on. They're the Southern Pacific Black Widow versions, but these are a good model to add to your fleet. A couple cool ones, like the one on the right there is the GM demo units. Next up, more items in stock. The 20-foot corrugated containers. These come in 3 packs in their Scene Master line. There's all the paint schemes on the left there. So if you're looking to add some 20-footers to your collection. And another mainline release, the 50-foot AAR single-door boxcars. Love this Burlington route scheme. You can see shots of both ends there. So in the mainline offering, there's no train line hoses and such, but you still have separately applied details like that ladder and brake wheel. And they do also still have a pretty good underbody on those cars as well. It is new tooling for them. In N scale, a 60-foot center beam flat car from modeltrains. And an HO scale coach bus is pretty neat here. This is from Iconic Replicas, who's been doing a lot of good vehicle models. But that's all here from Walthers. We'll take a quick final look at Rapido to close us out this week. Alright, and to close us off, just a final order reminder for pre-orders for Rapido's SD7s, SD9s, and SD10s. That deadline is coming up on March 6th this week. Here are some of the features on the right of these locomotives if you're interested in those. If you're looking to get your pre-order in, definitely take a look. We'll go ahead, I'll show you the paint schemes once again for a quick reminder. First up, the SD7s. The SD9s, and finally the rebuilt SD10s. But that's all I have for you this week. If you did make it this far, consider subscribing, really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, and drop me a comment if that anything was interesting here. Love chatting with you guys. But thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.